See?
Uh,
Got it.
Welcome to Authentic Caregiving. Thanks for coming, Cheryl. So
Thank you.
to share about your caregiving and who you are and who your care recipient is. One thing I thought was, first off, the important questions is, what's your favorite color and why?
Pink, but I'm not wearing it today. A little
Why is it
pink.
your favorite color, you think?
I don't know. I've always loved it since I was a little tiny girl. Pink has always been my favorite. Things are always better in pink. I can't help it.
I love it. Okay. I thought maybe you could tell how we met real quickly, and then we'll get more into you and
Oh my
Jim.
gosh. You were just a little scamp. Jim and I were, I think we were 16 when we first, or maybe 15 when we first started dating. We were like junior in high school. And you would have been like, let's see,
10.
10. Oh
See,
my
I was.
gosh. I was thinking you were older than that.
I was-
Isn't that funny? Oh my
Was
gosh. Yeah, yeah. And of course, when Jim and I got together, the whole family was like involved. Your family, our family, everybody started really getting to know each other. So that was pretty, I was thinking the other day, Jim and I were talking about what a unique situation it was and what a blessing that we didn't have to be so spent doing 100 different directions because our families were so close. That was huge. But anyway, that's how you and I met.
Okay. And can you tell me, like, a little bit about your family and, however you want to, like, tell them who
Sure.
Jim is for one.
Yes. Yeah. Jim Boyd, my childhood or my high school sweetheart. We've been married 52 years this June. And he is the person I'm caring for, but it's kind of a mixed bag because my dad is 95. And so I assist different things with my sister on caregiving, emotional support, sometimes physical. So, but my primary thing in care partnering really has mostly to do with Jim. So what was your other question?
When did you guys tell kind of the progress of that? I mean, do you have kids?
Oh, sure. Okay, yes. So when Jim and I, we have 2 daughters that are grown, and we've got grandkids. We've got 4 grandkids and great grands and all that good stuff, which is really cool. They're all the big ones are all grown now. They grow so fast, But the other day we went out for Jim's birthday, and we were talking, and we were about the age of our kids now when Jim was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He was 47. And that's kind of like where our kids, and it's such a weird thing to think about that progression, how much has changed.
How did he know he had it? I mean, how did it start, kind of like before you even went in?
His thumb started doing something weird like that. And he was lifting weights, and he was really buff and active and doing a million things. And we thought it was a pinched nerve from like lifting weights. So he went to Dr. Platt. I didn't go with him because we thought, oh, no big deal. And Dr. Platt diagnosed him with Parkinson, sent him home with a notebook or a little flyer on how to get out of bed when you got Parkinson's. Oh my gosh. And he walked in the door and he said to me, he says, I have Parkinson's. And we both just grabbed each other and wept. And we didn't even know what it meant. All I could think was, I remember somebody in church, but I think you said that the guy that I thought he had Parkinson was drooling in a wheelchair. That's the only thing I could think of with Parkinson's. I didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a real shock. I mean, just unbelievable.
And then what kind of was the journey? You went to trials?
Yeah, it was, when I look back, it was pretty slow progressing. And I can't remember. I don't have the time frame. I should sometimes sit down and write the whole time frame. But he had the pressure wash business at that time. And we had been in several different businesses. And and it was getting where he couldn't pressure wash and move and walk because he didn't know what it was. But after that happened, he of course knew what was going on. And he had his business for a few more years, I believe. And he was able to hire people, but then it really got too much for him to manage the mental and the executive planning, all that kind of stuff. So that's when he shut the business down.
Oh.
And I forget how old he was. Isn't that terrible? someday I'll document it all, but it
And what was-
happens quickly.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What was your,
It happens quick, but it's slow progressing. It happened really quick. It was a shock, and you don't know what, but it was slow progressing.
okay. And let's see, tell us how you met him. So when you went to the trials, what was that like? I mean, why did you go
Oh my
to New
gosh.
York?
Okay, the coolest trials we went through, we did some things in Portland, but the really cool thing, and I forget how many years down the line it was, they flew us to Connecticut, to Yale University, and they took pictures of his brain. They put stuff in it, I forget what you call it, to see what was going on. And there were a whole bunch of other people there that were doing the same thing. And when they picked us up in a limousine, I'll never forget that, had us this really nice hotel. We were nervous as a cat. We, traveling, and then just all the unknown, and anxiety and getting out of your normal routine is extremely hard for people with Parkinson's. I found that out when I was there because I was talking with everybody in the waiting room. And by the time he came back, he said it was like we were having a party, But all that to say, we went there, and then they sent us, we were there about a week. I think we did New York and Boston and some things too. And then they sent us back. We never got the results really of what happened. I think he was, as I recall, he didn't have the drug, but we never saw any difference.
And when did the drugs kind of start, or
how many years into the drugs? I would say maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 is when he started. And that was really hard because you had to, there was so much titrating, trying to figure out how much you could take, what worked, what didn't work, because sometimes he would have certain things, it would be almost like a zombie. And I don't know what people do that don't have a care partner, because I could see things that he couldn't see in himself,
Well, and you always talked about somehow that you guys were a team rather than one person, do you know what I mean?
Well, you know what happened? They sent us in, Dr. Platt said, if you want a second opinion, and of course we want a second opinion, we were praying it wouldn't be Parkinson's. So he sent us into OHSU, unbeknownst to us that Parkinson's Center in Portland is one of the premier Parkinson's centers around the country. I mean, they're well known for it. And we happened to get Dr. Nutt, who's like Mr. Parkinson's. He's now emeritus, and he does other things, but he diagnosed Jim with Parkinson's, confirmed it. And at that time, I will never forget it though. The first guy that I wasn't there, but he just kind of handed him a booklet and said, this is what you have, but you can get a second opinion. Well, Dr. Nutt sat us, oh my gosh. Dr. Nutt sat us down and talked to us, and he had tears in his eyes, and he'd been doing this for a long, long time. So
Wow.
he was the most kind, compassionate, but real person you ever want to know. And then he connected us. This is what was really cool. He connected us with Julie Carter, and her specialty was care partnering. And she kind of, I don't know if she coined the term, but she used the term care partnering rather than caregiving. And for the longest time, I mean, when I think about it, when when it goes well, I'm really care partnering, but sometimes I'm giving. And when you have a partnership, it's different than just giving. Not that there's not that time where you just give and you just do, but she talked to us a lot about what it meant to have Parkinson's and how it affected, like it's a family disease. So right on, we got connected with young onset Parkinson people. We went to groups.
Oh.
I think that you're asking if I had one piece of advice, what would it be? I mean, I could do tons of things, but I think one of the things that helped us the most was immediately getting connected with people who had Parkinson's and resources. I mean, we have this whole team, and I don't know what I would have done without it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's so having resources and being with like-minded people who are going through things now all along the journey, that I think that's been key to our, if you want to say success, because I feel like many times Jim and I will sit down and I'll say, we have a really good life. And he goes, yeah, we really do. It may be laying in bed at night with our dog there and just enjoying being together. it may be sitting down, looking at the birds or just whatever. But honestly, yeah.
Can you tell me tell me about how Jim got Parkinson's, they believe?
Well, it took quite a few years, but honestly, they attributed it to Agent Orange in Vietnam. There had been quite a bit of research on it. And he finally, we did some research, and then we went to the veterans, and he finally qualified for assistance because it rendered him unable to work and all that kind of stuff. But it took a long time. And he was so, I don't know if you want to say burnout. It was such a painful time. It was hard to relive it, talk about it, go through it. But there were tons of veterans, other veterans who also had Parkinson's and other neurological things. So that's really what they believe it was.
And do you think the veterans in VA, you hear a lot about the VA, et cetera. What has your experience been?
Oh, it's been incredible. They have been so good to us. I know when people say, oh, and they carry on, but we have a whole team. Like he has, of course, now he has other things too with his heart and all that kind of stuff. So we have a neurologist, we have a PT person that comes out every week. We have a home health nurse because we monitor his blood pressure. Usually we're supposed to try to do it about 3 times a day, and his weight, because we have to watch for water retention and all kinds of stuff. But they have been amazing. They offer counseling. They send out the drugs that we need. And they really listen to me. That's the part I really like. When you talk about a team, we have a real team with them. And you have a voice. As the care partner, you have a very voice, and a pretty loud voice. They really listen. It's really cool. And I think the thing about us with care partnering that makes it, I don't know if you want to say easy, is the fact that Jim has always, he always has trusted me and respected my opinion. And, like my dad, I told you I cared things for him.
Just a moment. Tammy, can you mute your...
Mute mine?
Yes, I'm getting feedback.
Joshua. Oh.
Thank you. Go ahead.
But anyway, I think the thing that's really helped with the team approach is we have a wonderful team through the VA, but the fact that Jim receives what I have to say most of the time and he trusts me a lot, which sometimes he trusts me more than I trust me, if you know what I mean.
Can you tell us a little bit about the meds and how you guys do the weight, the pills? It's amazing.
Oh, and it took years to get here. When we first started out, I do them every day. Oh my gosh. And when you have a couple medications, that's not a big deal. But pretty soon you keep adding to that. And I picked up an idea to do medications for like a week. I mean, that doesn't sound like any big deal. Then finally, I had friends who did it for a month. Oh, that was like a load lifted off of my shoulders. But then when you take it, he takes it 4 times a day and then maybe once at night. Anyway, so then we heard about, through our nurse, a medication system where it actually goes off 4 times a day and reminds you to take it. So I can get all the meds set up. And that has just been a godsend. The trick is when you're gone someplace to set your phone so that you remember to take but that has been, I tell you, but a lot of these tips we would get from other people when we would be together. Oh, well, I do the meds a month at a time or a week at a time.
And then they call in, even when his weight, isn't it connected?
We have his weight and his blood pressure is connected to the VA. So the cool thing about that is if something is off, they'll call me. Or if I feel like something's off, I call them. So I have access to a nurse. It's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But I do have a home health nurse who's like a member of the family. I could call her any time of the day or night. And that's priceless. I can't tell you how many times in the beginning you think, oh, do I call the heart doctor? Do I call the Parkinson doctor? Do I call the neurologist? You'd be in tears trying to figure out who to call, because when you've got several issues, they kind of mesh together, So It's amazing.
Do you do everything the doctors say to do over the years? I mean, do you just blindly?
No,
No.
no, no. No, I consult them. I'm really upfront with what's going on. But for example, when they changed Jim's blood pressure medicine or his water pill, they wanted to change it to every day. And I said, I'm hesitant. And I talked to the nurse, but I wasn't going to do it anyway because I knew what would happen. I said, I'm hesitant to do that because his blood pressure will drop really low. And so then they got right back with me. She talks to the cardiologist and they have enough history with me. We've talked a lot. I mean, we spent, I can't tell you how many hours consulting, but they've talked a lot with me that he trusts my judgment. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But because I've watched it and I know a lot of times what's happening and I feed the information to them so then they can help me. So we're a team in that respect. Last time I went to the cardiologist, he said, I wish I could clone you. He said, he just went on and on and on about how wonderful I was. And, so I said, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And he goes, yeah, well, use your judgment. Let me know. I mean, they don't usually do that. But
No.
mind you, we had him for years, and I don't think I'm a doctor. I consult on everything.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the tasks that you are responsible for doing most days? I mean, what does a common day look like? If I could say that,
Okay.
are there any common days?
Okay, a common day. We'll get up. Jim can get up and do his meds sometimes, but generally I get up with him and help him. He can do it if he has to and get his blood pressure going and his weight and then get his pills. They're all set out and ready to go. Sometimes he'll fix his breakfast. He might make some toast or some cereal. Sometimes I will. That's kind of a mixed bag, I really, and it varies with him because some days he can do a lot of things and other days he can hardly do anything. So it's always that fine line of, oh, will you feed the dog? Well, I think you can do it, and it'll be a question mark statement maybe. Like this morning, he said something about, well, has the dog has his pills? I said, well, I don't know. Why don't you check and see? But I have to kind of gauge it, And sometimes I just say, can you do this, honey? It would help me if you can. If you can't, that's okay. So we have a lot of ongoing communication that way. And then it depends on my work days. I have somebody that comes and hangs out within my granddaughter, and then she'll clean house and do things, and they do fun stuff. And it's always more fun to get a new face in. And then like today, I said, do you want to go outside for a little bit? And he has an up walker that he used. And we walked a couple of times out there to look at the animals. Then we came and sat down and watched the birds and had something to drink and visit a little bit. And then he can be, he's independent in a lot of ways, I don't like to leave him long times. I mean, he can be on his own, but I like to keep a close eye on him because you never know what he's going to do. He's in watching Bonanza now, and it just kind of depends. Some days we'll just go on a drive, or if we want a special treat, we might drive out to Manning to have a blizzard. That's an adventure.
Sounds like a fun adventure. Yeah.
Well, just really, I was thinking the other day, I think the biggest thing is with caregiving, when you ask what the tests are, most everything is me. That's just the way it is because he, some things he can't do. Lately he hasn't been doing the trash, but I'm going to work back into that. But like bending over, he can't do things that are balanced. Like sometimes after we eat, I'm looking at the refrigerator. He'll take, if he can, he'll walk over with one hand and put the ketchup away. Sometimes he can do it, sometimes he can't, and what happens is he'll be down for a while and then it takes a while to get him recuperated back up. And then I have to kind of get him back into doing things, like he'll fold clothes and, he'll do little odds and ends. He mows the lawn. He loves mowing the lawn. He's just been hours out there mowing the lawn. It looks really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it when we're out there doing that. That's cool.
When do you find that he kind of freezes, or does he, or how would you describe it?
If it's getting close to his med time, he can freeze. Or if he's hurrying to do something, he'll get those stutter steps and start to freeze. Or if we're going to a restaurant I think it's almost like an anxiety thing. You open the door and then he'll kind of stutter step over it. So, we have to try to like, okay, just take a deep breath, honey. I'll hold the door, and then he can go through. But freezing generally has to do with if his meds are a little bit off, or if he's just having a hard Parkinson day when he can't walk. That happens occasionally too.
Okay.
Depending.
Your part as a quote caregiver, because you are, how do you handle all that for as long as you have, really? I mean, years, decades.
Well, it's gradual, and I think the Lord prepares you in a lot of ways, and you just there's, I think though, honestly, there's a lot of, in the beginning, I think, and throughout the time, to me, there was like a lot of grieving. I remember when I used to look at this picture on our 25th anniversary, and I used to look at it and thought, oh, that was before Parkinson's. And I felt like that's when we were happy. Now I don't look at it that way. That's just a different chapter of our lives. But, I remember getting up for about the first year in getting out of bed. And the first thing I get feeling in the pit of my stomach like somebody died, because it's the death of so many things in your life, of dreams and hopes, and you don't know what it is, And then, so I think over the years, what's helped me to cope a lot, there's a lot of things. I think my faith, I know that the Lord has a plan. I don't think he gave him Parkinson. I don't think that at all. But when I feel hopeless and helpless, sometimes I'll just, my routine that helps me throughout the day, and I've done for years, is when I get up in the morning, I sit down, have my coffee and iced coffee, and wake up and I get out my Bible and my journal and I pray and I read. And sometimes I'll rant and rave and write things down, and then I feel like he answers me. Sometimes it just feels cold, but honestly, that's kind of like my time. I just feel like it's a breath of fresh air. It helps me make it through the day. I have people who I can talk to. I think I was thinking about it. I think having people who understand, we have over the years, it's really interesting. We've met the most amazing people. God has given us friends that it breaks down the barriers when you have something that, a lot of your dignity feels like it's gone, your dreams, your whatever. And when you can be with other people, you can just say it like it is. Sometimes I'm having a bad day, I'll call one of my friends and go, well, how are you doing? What's going on? And sometimes I'll share. I mean, I don't hide it, but sometimes just hearing somebody's voice that knows, like you feel like running away today, but there's nowhere to go, So I think for me, it's been huge, just the support of other people who understand, and Jim is so, honestly, he's easy to love and he's so funny, and you don't lose sight of the person because he's still very lively.
He's very funny, yes. And do you want to tell what he does at night sometimes when you're like talking?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's really interesting. There's some nights, well, it's kind of interesting because sometimes with Jim's breathing, I've getting his pillows up and getting him comfortable. And then the dog has breathing issues. So I get myself settled, I'm relaxing, and I'm just thinking, oh, I'm going to get a good night's rest. And he will talk incessantly. Sometimes he talks clearer at night when he's sleeping than when he does during the day. And I told him, I said, don't you ever think about having an affair on me? I'll know all about it. But oh my gosh, he used to, when we went to Rocksteady boxing, this was a hoot because I told Kimberly, he would box during the night. He boxed. I had to watch out or I'd get hit. But he'd be talking about boxing. It's kind of funny because sometimes it's a window into what he's doing. Not always, but it's kind of interesting. He's very entertaining. And it makes for a short night. Let me
Talk
tell you.
Talk a little bit about Talk a little bit about Rocksteady.
Oh, Rocksteady boxing for Parkinson is incredible. They have mind-body exercises. So when you are moving your body, you have to use your brain. Like we'll sit in a circle and they'll do exercises. They call out their name really loud. It's supposed to be really loud because people with Parkinson tend to talk really soft. And so she'll do that. And then they'll have music going and we'll dance. And the partners that are there, I mean, I don't know who has more fun, the Parkinson people or the care partners. I have so much fun when we're doing it, but it really helps. It helps in so many levels because it helps his brain and his body to move. And it also helps, again, that social aspect, being with other people. Because, I will talk with the other care partners, and then Jim talks to the people too. So you kind of have this whole another team that helps. And then we used to have, before the COVID, we'd have a monthly get together where we go out to eat. We go into Portland and have dinner with our Parkinson friends. And
please leave a message after the tone.
it was okay. Anyway, it was really nice. It was just,
mute. That was awesome, Jim. Thank you.
but that camaraderie with being with other people, I can't tell you how much that does for Jim and I both. You don't feel so alone. You don't feel hopeless, or when you're kind of in the pits, it's nice to know that you're not the only one. And sometimes you lose it and you're cranky and, and you feel like you're mean as a rat and other people don't see you that way. You know what I mean? It's just those times that, it was funny. We went to dinner last night with the kids, and I thought to myself, this is why I think Jim is easy to love most of the time. He said the same thing about me, but we were talking, and one of my daughters said, the thing I love about you, Dad? She said, you never say anything bad about Mom. I can't always say that. But I thought about that, and I thought he has such I don't know how to explain it, but I'm so thankful because honestly, I don't feel like I deserve it. The way he looks, he forgives me before I even ask, and I don't deserve it, but that's huge to me, the forgiveness that we get to experience. I need it a lot.
Yeah. I've listened to him also. Yeah, I've never heard him talk bad about you, ever.
Well, Heather said, how sometimes you go, I'm on this or that, and they'll go, but honey, she has a lot on her plate. He defends me.
Yeah.
I want to be like that.
Yeah.
He's my hero.
Tell us about your faith and how you process that over time, because when you first found out, and then like now,
Okay, when I first found out he had Parkinson's, I knew he was going to be healed. I thought we were going to be on the road into ministry. I mean, I thought he's going to have a miraculous healing. God is, and then you hear a lot of teaching on healing. And there was a season at church that seems like all they did was talk about healing. And I left crying a few times, and over time, and I don't think I pray for healing so much now. I mean, I pray for healing on different levels, but I feel like it's like I know that God gives us what we need, and I know that how would you say it? I guess my faith isn't in his healing, but my faith is that he's always there with us. He's always, I mean, we have so much to be thankful for. I was talking to a fellow caregiver this morning, and we were talking about how hard it was, especially when cognitive things change. And he said, I always think about, I have this list of things that I'm grateful for. And so I think, the Bible talks so much about thanksgiving and gratitude. And when I look at that instead of whining like I like to do many times, that kind of shifts my thing. But I think acceptance, coming with terms with the way it is and not looking back. I don't look back very much. Sometimes I look back and it's good, but I mainly look forward and think about the things that we can do. I was thinking today, Jim came in and he said, I don't, so how do you say? I'm tired of Parkinson's. I said, honey, I'm too. What part? I'm just tired of it. I fall. I can't do what I want to do. And I thought, and he hardly ever says anything like that, once in a blue moon. So we always try to think of things that we can do. But it's just been a process, I guess. And it's just up and down. But it's funny. I don't remember feeling mad at God about it. Sometimes it's like, why me? But I don't really remember feeling bad. We have a song at church that I love. It's like, God has been so good to me. And I look at my life and I think there's so much to be thankful for. I have my father who's 95 and still alive. And, he's kind of like Jim. It's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. You know how the Lord loves us just the way we are. and we don't have to do anything to perform, but I think I have to perform. And I thought, I think about my life, my family, the goodness of God, when I was younger, there was stress growing up, different things, but I had a loving family. And to know that you're just loved. I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed with it.
And so many believe in the family.
Yes. And I don't know, it's just that song, He's So Good to Me. I just feel like when I really think about it, when I start on a little pity party that nobody wants to come to, then I just have to I journal a lot too. Sometimes at night when I can't sleep, I get up and I journal and I write, and sometimes I eat candy, but I don't want to, but I do. No, I just.
What do you do for self-care?
I do a lot of different things. I walk a lot. And on my walk, sometimes I listen to your podcast. I love those. It's always encouraging. It's really fun. I've really enjoyed your authentic caregiving podcast. Those are good. I listen to a Tipa Snow, who is it helps me because I'm always, that's the one thing I think that has helped me is I feel like I'm always learning new things about life.
Yeah, let's give that. Tipa Snow is Teepa Snow. And she gives a podcast kind of like on caregiving, correct?
Yeah. Yep, on dementia mainly. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But so what I do is when I'm out on my walk, when I listen to those, or sometimes I'll listen to one of my Weight Watcher apps, and there'll be activity you can move and stuff. But I think walking keeps me sane most of the time. And the self-care, that morning time, is like golden. I probably couldn't live without it. And then I try to think, I really think the self-care involves if I need help, asking for help, really reaching out, Napping is sometimes the things that I do. I love a nap. We've had a rough night or whatever. I used to think, believe this or not, I used to think like sleep was a luxury. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So I realized that sometimes, when things look hopeless or helpless, I just need a good nap. And self-care. Sometimes I go to the library. I love Brookwood Library, and I'll walk around there, and then I'll go in and I'll get books. I'll get books for Jim and I. He loves to read about dogs. One time I brought home, I didn't know it. It was a sad dog book. I will not do that again. He loves to read stories. And then he reads he sits at the counter and reads dog stories to me. So
that's great. What are your, do you have any boundaries? Because boundaries are really a way of self-care. It's not boundaries from people. It's more to keep you safe and at ease. And
Yes. And I find with care partnering, I really have to work on my boundaries, because what happens is sometimes Jim goes, Cheryl, and I'll drop everything and run because I'll think, has he fallen? What's going on? And when you live in that state of emergency, it's really nerve-wracking. So now I'll say, do you need me? I may be upstairs. And if I don't hear a thud, I'll be down in a few minutes. I'm going to finish combing my hair. Sometimes, because if he really needs me, I'm going to come down. But it's not an emergency if he wants me to grab him something that he can wait 5 or 10 minutes for. So I think, and also you've really helped me with this, Kano, a lot, is learning to recognize my limits. Because when I've talked to you before, I'm like, well, it's not really a big deal. It's not that much. Well, yeah, really, it kind of is. When you're on call 24/7 and you're doing most of the things and you're managing, it is a lot. So being able to recognize that and say no, and not have to defend it, because other people, unless you've been in the boat, you can't understand it, really. And you can't expect anybody to,
Yeah.
So saying no is a self-care too for me.
My somebody had told me that saying no is a complete sentence, and I was like, wow, there's a freedom there. Instead of going, well, it's because.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. What books have you read? Maybe a couple books that you think are just awesome, that have really helped a lot, or for fun or whatever. Because I know you
I'm
read a
trying-
lot.
I read a lot, but I don't always remember what I've read. I mean, I remember some of the content, but this is an old book I read a long time ago, but it always inspired me. It's called Aging Gracefully by Snowden. And it was he was a reporter, I think, at the time, that went to convents, and he was testing women, the nuns. They were doing a research project on what I think it started in the 90s. And they were checking Alzheimer's and the brain and all kinds of things. They had to agree to donate their brains to science. And I read that book because it was the power of community. And he grew to love these nuns, and he grieved when they died and everything. But it was so inspiring to hear about their lives and how they were in this community and they aged wonderfully. And I just love that. I read that every now and then because it's just really kind of a life-giving, inspiring story for me.
What's the one thing about caregiving that's the hardest for you?
Let's see, what is the one thing that is the hardest? To think about that. Well, I think, and it's hardest, but I'm getting better at letting go. I think it's letting go of expectations, because you don't think you have an expectation until it's not met. Which is kind of regular. Well, it used to be like I'd have want to get out the door at a certain time, and it didn't matter what time. It was kind of like when you first have a baby, and you think you've allowed enough time and they poop their pants before you go. Well, sometimes with Parkinson, it might be a fall, it might be whatever. And I just have so learning how just to let go on a regular basis, you got a party planned or something that's a really big deal and you really want to do it. And it's hard, but it's getting easier. I don't know if that makes sense.
Wow.
I don't know. And that
What time of day are you at your best?
Morning.
Like what's your peak?
Morning, probably. And actually I'm pretty good at night when I can just lay down and turn everything off and, we'll maybe listen to a podcast or read a book and snuggle up. That's a really nice, relaxing time.
When
mornings.
Pardon? What'd you
My
say?
productive time is probably in the mornings for planning and instigating things.
When you have Jim falls spontaneously at different times, what is that like for you? I mean, what does that do?
Well, now it's interesting because when it first happened, of course, you panic like crazy. And now I don't panic. Probably if people saw me, they might think I don't care. Because I'll just come and I'll go, well, what's going on? And like when the girls would come over, sometimes they'd want to run and pick them up. And I go, no, just wait a minute. And I'm pretty calm. Are you hurt? What's going on? If he's hit his head, we're supposed to go into the doctor. So that's did you hit your head? But I don't panic now. He's fallen so much and it doesn't do any good. I came to the conclusion a long time ago. I mean, I think one of the things, I am a very empathetic person. I have I really feel other people's feelings. I could pick up on it, whatever. But when you live with a chronic illness, if every time he fell or had an issue and I went there with emotional, I'd be a basket case. And I thought it doesn't help to have two people that are kind of incapacitated. So I try to take a deep breath and I want to be compassionate, but I just can't be exhausted. It would exhaust me. Does that make sense?
It's interesting. Yes, it's interesting when I've seen him fall that he falls the most graceful sometimes I've ever seen, and then just kind of laughs and eventually he'll get back up or needs help or whatever. But it's interesting that he seems to roll with it in a way.
He does. One time we were at a baseball game and he was in a chair, one of those little chairs, and the ground was kind of soft. He leaned back and he did a total backflip and I got to giggling. The girls looked at me like, what is the matter with you? But I thought I was going to die laughing. But we laugh a lot because it's sure better than crying.
Yeah. What do you think your biggest failure has been in life, and what did you
Mhm.
learn from it?
Well, I'm still in it. So I think my biggest, so I'm still learning. I think my biggest, I don't know if you call it failure. Well, my struggle is feeling like I am ahead of my paperwork and my business stuff and my office stuff and managing all that. I'm not, I don't feel like I'm successful on managing that very well at all.
Mhm.
And sometimes I say I'm not good at it, but I don't really sometimes put much energy on it because I don't like it.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. What do people misunderstand about you? And what do you do about that?
What do they misunderstand? I don't feel misunderstood too much. Well, it used to be, not so much now, but if like with Parkinson's, like if people want help that I can't give, sometimes I try to say, well, blah, blah, blah with Jim. And I've come to the conclusion that they're not going to understand. You and I've talked about it before. Like sometimes, it's like, gosh, if I had somebody that had that, I wouldn't even ask, or I would help do this or that. But some people just will never understand. So I've come to the conclusion that it doesn't matter if they don't understand. If it's close family members, like one of the daughters, we'll have a conversation. It was interesting because Heather and I have talked a lot. She's pretty outspoken, as you know. But the interesting thing is the other day when she said, I want to talk to you about something. And I said, that's okay. What is it? We were on the phone. And she said, because I was telling him how he had a couple days that he didn't need his walker. I mean, he really didn't. And she said, when you said it was really neat, he didn't need his walker, that reinforces that behavior that, because we want him to be careful. And of course, they want him to use the walker all the time. And I said, but I was thinking, we've come to this point after many conversations. It doesn't just happen in one or two times. And, like you hurt my feelings, or what about this, or what about that, because you don't want to shut off people who have good input in your life. But ultimately, I'm the one that's responsible. And Jim and I have to decide. But I always try to think about, is there something that I need to learn from that? Because
So when he didn't have his walker and he was having great Parkinson's days,
yes,
really,
yeah,
you're celebrating that. I'm hearing you say,
yeah,
rather than
yeah,
going, oh, I love it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very
yeah.
positive. What's the most important personality trait or strength that a spouse would need as a caregiver?
I would say probably gratitude and being positive for the things that you can be positive about. Because I think gratitude changes everything. Like I told you, when I get up and I'll be, maybe I'll just have a rough whatever, and I'm journaling away. And then I'll read, I love Jesus Calling. And oftentimes it takes me back to switching over to really gratitude.
I love it. Yeah.
That's huge for me.
What's your one piece of advice that you give to someone starting out caregiving? Something's happened with their spouse, and
I would say get connected with other people. There's so many resources for almost everything, and you don't have to be alone, because having a chronic disease can isolate you from what used to be. I was thinking the other day, you have different friends because you're quote normal. This is our new normal, but the quote normal friends, you don't have as much in common. Some people you do, but start to really reach out and connect with people, because I think there's no substitute for real life experience.
how do you feel when other couples, etc., are out having a great time, taking big trips or whatever? I mean, does that affect you at all as a caregiver or not?
It kind of depends on my state of mind. Sometimes I want to, hit my computer, but sometimes I just enjoy it. I enjoy looking about what they're doing. And I was thinking this morning, Jim and I have, over the years, we've really got to do many, many things. So we have a lot of memories of, you know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
focus on that, I get that. And I just kind of feel like sometimes I take vicarious vacations through other people's journey. I really do.
Mhm.
And once in a while I'll feel pitiful. But then when I look around, I think I really wouldn't trade my life for them. You know what I mean? When you really get down to the nitty gritty, it all looks good and all that good stuff. But I think for the most part, I enjoy seeing it. And if I'm feeling dissatisfied, then I have to look about what's going on with me. What I'm something's missing in me. It's not that outward thing, you know.
Yeah, that's good. If you could go back to and give your 18-year-old self, she is so cute too, 18-year-old self, one piece of advice, what would it be, you think?
Don't
You're
be so
18.
hard on yourself. I've been thinking about this.
Woo!
That was the hardest question I could think of because I always, I think that's why with caregiving and other things, sometimes I've always felt extremely responsible for other people and their feelings or the whatever. And when you do that and you're trying to do that and try to please other people, you never can meet their expectations. And then you feel guilty all the time.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? And so I
Yes.
think don't be so hard on yourself. You know, you're fine. God has it. I mean, just the way you are. But you know, I remember your mom used to say, you can't put a 40-year-old head on a 20-year-old body or whatever. You know what I mean? I think about
Mhm.
that because some of it you just have to learn through experience. You know, give myself grace like I would my friends. But I
Yeah.
wasn't, I was always hard on myself.
We're getting ready to wrap up, but I'd like you to talk a little bit about love and marriage, I guess, your from your point of view.
Sure. Love and marriage. Well, you know, it's funny. I was thinking when I was younger, I had a lot of expectations of what I thought Jim should be doing, you know, the perfect husband. But as time progressed, I realized I have to focus more on what I can control and look for the things in him that are really positive. I think, I think for us, I think we've had a successful marriage for a few reasons. Of course, I think really, if you think about it, all the things that he's lived through with coming home from Vietnam and just stress of life, it's just a miracle. God's grace has kept us together. I think forgiveness is a huge part of both of us. We don't really hold grudges. We just never have. And I'm thankful. It's kind of partly personality and maybe something that we practiced. I don't know. And I think I'm always looking for ways. I was thinking today when he said that about I hate Parkinson's. What could we do? What are some things that we could do to make his life more enjoyable and more, you know, better? I think looking at all of the good qualities, I was thinking the other day, I used to have a little red book. We kind of filled it up and maybe I'll get it out again and do a challenge. But every day, not every day, many days, we would write something in a little love note to each other, like, thank you for this, or I love you, or some little thing. But even the fact of thinking about him instead of about me, um, it really helps. And again, back to the friend thing, I think the kind of friends you have can really influence your marriage a lot too. We've had so many good friends that we've absolutely, I mean, that's one thing we've been really blessed with. People that you just can laugh with and cry with and share your heart with. That's huge in having that support when you're going through rough stuff, you know? So
Sure. I thought I'd ask if you guys, the people who are visiting, Jim and Tammy, Kelly, if you guys have any questions, I'd open it up for this time if you'd like to. Just unmute yourself or.
I think you're muted.
There we go.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you girls never age.
That's right.
Oh, that's kind. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Fun.
Okay, what I was thinking about was to end with, what's your favorite? You have so many, I know. You have siblings. You have sister and a brother, and you're the oldest, and Jim was the oldest. correct? Yeah.
Yes.
And what's one of your favorite childhood memories?
Oh, gosh. Well, I could go into, I love the summers especially. And my parents had, my dad's niece and nephews had lost both of their parents. So the 4 cousins would come down and spend weeks with us. And we would pick berries and swim and play in the woods for all hours of the night. And it was just like the most amazing thing. And then I look back and think, how did mom do it? She had 6 kids to manage, and she ran a tight ship. I mean, we had so much fun. It was unbelievable. I can't tell you. We worked hard and we played hard. So I think that was just one of our favorite memories. After they left, I felt like somebody died. I wanted to go move with them or something, You knew the Frickies. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's
I love
awesome.
swimming in the swimming hole.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming today. I love it. Thank you for letting me interview you. And you are an amazing caregiver.
Oh,
And you also have an amazing spouse, of course. But
course.
you guys make a great team. And I
Thank
do
you.
see you. I do see you guys.
Thank
And thanks
you.
everybody
Thank
for
you.
joining. And we'll catch you later. Be well.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you for your encouragement. You're my cheerleader.
Good seeing you guys.
Bye.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in.
Mhm.
Hi, Jim.
Bye.